How much stronger is Boruto than everyone else? In Chapter 7 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, Mitsuki and Boruto straight up confirm Boruto's off-the-charts power. But how does he stack up against Isshiki, Daemon, Jura, and even Baryon Mode Naruto? In today's episode of the Boruto stream, I'm going to power scale the entire relevant Borutoverse into tiers, and rank them all the way from Himawari to Jura to even Boruto. But first, if you guys wouldn't mind giving me a like and subscribing to the channel, it would mean the world to me. Alright, let's get into it. Before I start getting into specifics, I want to mention that this power scale is entirely based off of where people are at right now in the story. Except for Naruto, Sasuke, Jigen, and Isshiki, who are all either out of commission or dead. I want to start the discussion off with one of the characters that we've seen on the widest ends of the spectrum in terms of where they've been ranked prior to Chapter 7 and where they're ranked now. Kawaki has had his fair share of showing great potential while simultaneously committing horrific snafus, sometimes in the same chapter. His getting caught off guard by Mitsuki was forgivable in that it was snake venom, and he wouldn't have been expecting Mitsuki to attack. And to Mitsuki's credit, the man is a near perfect or maybe perfect snake sage. That being said, the earlier moment where Kawaki gets embarrassingly face-planted by a claw grime when Code unleashes claw grimes all over the village is way more damning. In fact, at that point, the village was under attack and Kawaki was more than ready to be attacked and still got caught lacking. This speaks to a couple of important elements about Kawaki's current power level and also informs on where Boruto, Mitsuki, Code, and Team 10 are as well. That's because in Chapter 7, Boruto straight up tells Mitsuki that Kawaki doesn't stand a chance against him. But Mitsuki first confirms it by literally saying Kawaki is no match for you right now. Dude, this guy is catching more canon strays than any other character in this verse or even in fiction right now. The filler arc strays that Konohamaru caught are less ridiculous. There are some important factors that I want to take into account. Yes, Mitsuki is accurately power scaling Kawaki. It's safe to assume that since Mitsuki's job is to hang out with Kawaki 24/7, that he's been around for the entirety of Kawaki's training and vice versa. Kawaki is determined to defeat Boruto. If you think he hasn't been training at all, you are horribly mistaken. You are wrong. We've already seen the fruits of Kawaki's training. He's got the full 8 spokes in his dojutsu and he can fly. And while he did get embarrassed by a claw grime, I do believe that Kawaki must have had a huge part in defeating the claw grimes during the attack. There's a baseline of power that we know Kawaki possesses, and he's at the very least above where he was at the end of Boruto Naruto Next Generations. And at that point, he had arguably the strongest peak level in the village. At that point, I may have put Kawaki somewhere in the realm of Jigen. Maybe lower, but not categorically lower. Kawaki's body is more suited for the karma marking than Jigen's, and that's part of why he was selected in the first place. But now, Kawaki has unlocked all 8 spokes of his dojutsu, which suggests that his mastery of the Sukuna Hikona and Daikukoten powers are significantly more established. At the same time, we already know Kawaki's opinions. He believes that you should go all out in training, so for Kawaki, that means he's never not in karma mode during his training. And for a guy that has 0 experience as a shinobi prior to getting his karma, Kawaki is basically not a shinobi. He can't hold his own using just ninjutsu, and his mastery of taijutsu is only relevant when his karma is activated. That being said, Kawaki's peak strength in karma mode is nothing to be scoffed at. He's already displayed the ability to go in and out of the Daikokuten dimension, and basically use it as his own version of Kakashi's Kamui in Shippuden. Furthermore, Kawaki's usage of the Sukuna Hikona, black cubes, and anti-sensory ninjutsu have probably improved significantly. Kawaki's power level post timeskip is probably at or close to being Isshiki level already. Yeah, I said that. Kawaki is already at the very least close to being at Isshiki level, if not there already. We already saw him display near Isshiki level taijutsu in Boruto Naruto Next Generations, and now we know his body is properly Otsutsukified enough for him to be able to fly. Kawaki, despite all of the embarrassing moments so far, and all of the strays that he's caught, is no slouch. So it's important that I started for Kawaki, because you're going to see very quickly what this means for Boruto, Mitsuki, Jura, Code, and even Baryon Mode Naruto. I want to take this opportunity to address why Isshiki is above Kawaki when I literally just finished arguing that peak Karma Kawaki is Isshiki level. The explanation here is very simple. Isshiki is always Isshiki level. Don't get me wrong, Isshiki has also famously let his guard down and gotten cocky more than once or twice. But the mere fact that, to our knowledge, Kawaki gets to Isshiki level strength with the Karma means that when the Karma is not activated, that Kawaki is less powerful than Isshiki, and for that reason, Isshiki has to be at least ahead of Kawaki on the list. I would argue that Isshiki is ahead of Code for the simple reason that Code is meticulous and crafty, like when he pulled Daemon out of Eida's hands to knock Karma Kawaki out using his claw marks. But he's also kind of an idiot that got his eye taken out by a significantly weaker dude in Sasuke that was also outnumbered. Let's continue looking at this particular power scaling scene in chapter 7. The general consensus is that Mitsuki has accurately power scaled Kawaki along with relative scaling for Code and Boruto. Because Mitsuki is repeatedly portrayed as having a methodical approach and extremely high IQ, we can probably say that Mitsuki is a reliable narrator as far as his estimation of other people's power levels goes, even in relation to his own. However, when Mitsuki says that he wants to finally be able to go all out to defeat Boruto, I don't think we're supposed to interpret it as Mitsuki being more powerful than Kawaki. I think the point there is that he's finally being given the opportunity to fight with actual killing intent, which we then see out of Mitsuki. Mitsuki's Snake Sage mode power is insane. It just sucks for him that he was using it against Boruto. And conversely, I wouldn't get too hung up on the fact that Mitsuki seemed to be fighting Boruto in a more aggressive way for more panels than Code got before getting utterly embarrassed. Boruto's end goal for the two fights were very different. They both got no diffed by Boruto, and that's important, but if Boruto was interrogating Code or was even trying 20%, he was basically having a conversation with Mitsuki while going through the motions of the battle. And Mitsuki indirectly already power scaled himself below Code when he admitted that Code is stronger than Kawaki and therefore Kawaki is too weak to fight Boruto. Then Boruto filled in the remaining blanks as it relates to power scaling Mitsuki by saying, well, if Kawaki, doesn't stand a chance against me, then neither do you. Again, the language here of not standing a chance and being no match doesn't bode well for any of the three people here not named Boruto that I've mentioned so far. All of them are significantly weaker than Boruto, and that is significant, but I'll get more into that in a bit. So if we're putting Kawaki in as being planetary level power, which I very much think he is, I would say that Code and Mitsuki are definitely in that range as well, with Code being higher and Mitsuki being just behind. I also think that at this point we can feel fairly certain that Kawaki is ahead of Jigen, and more specifically ahead of Jigen plus Ten Tails Chakra, who beat Naruto and Sasuke at full strength combined. And mind you, the Naruto and Sasuke that are on this list have Kurama and the Rinnegan respectively. In terms of figuring out where Mitsuki goes on this list, I think the same basic logic I would use is that while we saw Mitsuki's Sage Mode do amazing things in terms of strength and speed, I think he would still be overwhelmed by Naruto's sheer chakra and Sasuke's Rinnegan. Without those things, I would put Mitsuki ahead of Sasuke on this list, and I would put Fuse Momoshiki ahead too. I could argue that he should be higher on this list anyway. Okay, so we've got Isshiki and therefore Baryon Mode Naruto, because that fight was pretty much dead even. If it was Edo Tensei or something like that, and Naruto didn't have to worry about Kurama's chakra running out, then I would think Baryon Mode Naruto would have a clear win here. But that's an unrealistic hypothetical basis for this power scale. I'd put Baryon Mode Naruto right ahead of Isshiki here. Before we fill out the rest of the high-end fighters, let's quickly address the category that used to be as high-end as it goes, and that's Kage level. Kage level is seemingly obvious ranking, and with maybe a few small considerations here or there, I think it's pretty obvious who's in Kage level. In fact, in a rare moment, all 5 of the current sitting Kage are actually just Kage level, including Gaara, who is really the only person that you could even make an argument should go one level above, but I won't. Additionally, this is where I add in Konohamaru. Before the time skip, Konohamaru had already mastered 2 different summonings, mastery of 4 chakra natures including Yang release, multi-shadow clone jutsu, and even added a chakra nature to his Rasengan, something that Kakashi and Minato, the inventor of the Rasengan, couldn't do. Although it's not really fair to Minato. Anyway, on some level, saying Konohamaru is Kage level is an indictment of Chojuro, who I think Konohamaru would probably defeat. But one thing that's often overlooked about Konohamaru is that in order to successfully pull off half of the jutsu and techniques that he heavily relies on, he's got to have insane chakra reserves. Just because he's not on Naruto's level in terms of chakra doesn't mean that his chakra isn't well above anyone else not named Gaara on this Kage level tier list. Again, I'm doing this as irrelevant to where they were at during chapter 7 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex or earlier. So part of this is based on the assumption that he powered up slightly over the last 3 years. Let's jump up to the legendary Shinobi on this list because it's an absolutely formidable group of people, starting from weakest to strongest with Sakura. Now, don't get me wrong, in sheer strength, you could easily argue that Sakura should be way higher on this list, but part of this is based on combat ability, and Sakura has proven time and time again that she's really clutch in non-combat roles and really punches below her weight class when it comes to actual fighting. She's no slouch, it's just that in a fight, I prefer the other legends on this row over her, and that starts with Kakashi. At this point, Kakashi has mastered all 5 chakra natures, yin and yang released. He can do the Rasengan, Purple Lightning. While he can't do Kamui or Chidori or Genjutsu or anything that he needed the Sharingan for anymore, Kakashi has learned a boatload of jutsus, including the 8 inner gates, and literally invented Purple Lightning to replace the Chidori. He's a bad man, but the next 3 people on this list are tough to tussle with. Orochimaru's feats are insane, including killing the 3rd Hokage, albeit a weakened 3rd Hokage who destroyed his hands in the process, but in Boruto, Orochimaru has basically been allowed to run rampant with science experiments, effectively making himself exponentially more powerful and deadly than his formidable former self was. And at the end of Shippuden, compared to now, how strong is Orochimaru? Probably incomparable. Probably not as strong as Delta though, who can literally absorb chakra and fire a destruction beam that overpowers even the most powerful regenerative abilities. Basically, Delta's eye cannons are instant kill beams if they hit you right. Apart from that, her ability to absorb chakra attacks and redirect the chakra back into her attack makes her an absolute problem. However, she does match up rather poorly with one of the few guys on this list that specializes in non-chakra based attacks, and that is Kashin Koji. Kashin Koji is nothing short of an enigma in present day Boruto. We have no idea how he survived getting crushed by Isshiki's blocks, but there are guesses. And what we do know is that Kashin Koji is Jiraiya's clone, but he's even more powerful because he's a perfect Toad Sage and he can summon real flames from the flaming mountains to engulf you. His fire style is so strong that he almost casually burned Konohamaru alive, and he's got so much chakra that he regularly summons a behemoth of a toad. Even though Delta's raw stats are better, she has to be worried about someone like Kashin Koji, especially when we've already seen that she got overwhelmed by Naruto's chakra and risked overheating. Getting burned by Kashin Koji's endless flames would be game over for her. Koji has proven that he's extremely crafty too. I wouldn't be surprised if he crosses into planetary level in terms of power, to be honest, but for now, based on what we know, he's firmly in the legendary category. Okay, let's get the MC in here. Time to talk Boruto. Do I need to talk feats about this dude? In terms of sheer resume at this point, he's already the GOAT. There might be some dudes making the Tom Brady argument for Naruto or Sasuke or even Isshiki who are more powerful or maybe accrued more feats relative to their competition or something like that. But when you've seen it and the proof is there. Boruto is like Patrick Mahomes. You can just tell this dude is better than everyone else. And that's because Boruto has the perfect combination of Minato's genius and speed, Sasuke's technique, Neji's precision, and Naruto's sheer strength and willpower. I've said this before, when it comes to being an actual ninja, there is no one that has a better combo of stealth, speed, and technique. He literally toyed with Code and Mitsuki for panels, and then confirmed point blank that Kawaki was no match for him. I'm telling you this right now. Leave Daemon out of this for a minute. If you take Daemon out, there isn't a team of 4 people in Konoha right now that could take down Boruto. Get your strongest team that you can imagine. Kawaki, Mitsuki, throw in Kakashi or Sakura or Shikamaru, whoever else you want to throw in there. Get Code in there. They're all getting done up like shadow clones. And I want you to remember that I said that, because I'm going to come back to why it matters later. Now let's talk about how Daemon matches up, because there's a very real threat for Boruto on this list, and it is not Daemon, who is frankly the next strongest known entity on this list with proven feats. Much like Boruto, Daemon absolutely toyed with no limit code, and his reflection ability might be one of the most broken abilities in the entire story right now. But there are levels to this, and abilities like Daemon's have loopholes. One is that if there's no one around for him to touch, Daemon becomes extremely susceptible to long and mid-range attacks. And I think a moment like this that could spell doom for Daemon is when Eida flies off to save Kawaki at the end of Boruto Naruto Next Generation's Chapter 80. The second factor is there is some inconsistency as it pertains to Daemon's ability to reflect pure taijutsu. We see Code able to yoink him from a claw mark into the path of Kawaki's attack while he's in Eida's arms, and we see Boruto able to yank him back when he's trying to kick Himawari. Maybe this is Daemon coming willingly, but I think that there might be a loophole there that is being shown on purpose. If he can't reflect the taijutsu of someone as fast as Boruto, it's going to be a real problem for him. And just remember, Daemon can't fly or teleport or anything like that. He can run really fast, but I'm not sure that he's categorically faster than what we saw out of Mitsuki in Sage Mode. I don't think that Daemon's abilities do anything for him if he gets stranded out by himself with multiple attackers that have mid-range attacks and strong taijutsu. But I'm nitpicking here. Daemon is OP as hell. Before I start talking about the only person besides Boruto that can probably beat Daemon, and who I think is the biggest threat to Boruto on this list, let's talk about where Sarada ranks, because for someone who has unlocked a Mangekyo Sharingan, we haven't seen enough feats out of Sarada to confidently say that she's above S tier. We see her use Chidori and Fire Style while dunking on some Claw Grimes, and then immediately we see her get caught off guard in the middle of battle by a Claw Grime, and someone named Soegi gets devoured. I'm putting Sarada, Shikadai, Chocho, and Inojin all in S tier in that order, with Sarada looking up to make a big leap into Kage level, and Inojin staring back down at A rank. Himawari is an interesting quandary because technically the power that Daemon saw in her is already lying dormant within her. However, we've still yet to see it come to the surface. What we have seen is her insanely good usage of the Byakugan and her very proficient usage of taijutsu with Chocho. For now, Himawari is an A rank, but the story is still young. That same logic is what applies to Sumire as well. She literally held her own against Kakashi in the anime and summoned a multi-dimensional yokai that was absolutely overpowered. But since then, Sumire has been working on ninja tech, healing Kawaki's ninja arm, and doing no ninja training. Sumire's potential is insanely high, but right now she's an A rank. The next person on this list is Eida. Take all of the logic I applied to Himawari and Sumire and now bake this in. Eida is somewhat of an unreliable narrator. This is why I think Eida is slightly misrepresenting her abilities in combat. She has said that apart from her omnipotence shinjutsu and her Senrigan dojutsu, that she's only mastered basic taijutsu, but Eida can fly. Something that up to this point only Otsutsuki deities can do, without some ninjutsu trickery. Eida is a lot stronger than she's leading on, and I think it's on purpose. She wants you to believe that she's an S tier or Kage tier, but her sheer ability to avoid being attacked and influence others to attack her would-be attackers makes her a planetary level threat. Even if her combat abilities are as basic as she claims they are, which again I don't believe that's accurate, at the very least her ability to fly suggests that her body is at least partially Otsutsuki DNA. And now, the biggest question mark in terms of power, how strong are the Shinju right now? And how strong in particular is Jura? We've seen feats out of the other Shinju. The bug Shinju appeared to be holding his own against Boruto. He got hit with Shiden Nagashi and didn't blink. These guys also displayed a level of teamwork and coordination that I wouldn't have expected out of brand new life forms. Remember when I said that there wasn't a 4-person team in Konoha that could take down Boruto? Well, guess what? This group of 4 drove Boruto out of the Ten Tails dimension in a hurry. And no, I'm not saying that they are more powerful than Boruto. They're probably not, but the situational advantage they have is that if they were to successfully devour Boruto, it's GG for the entire planet. And that's a rough vantage point for Boruto to take a 1-on-4 battle from. If code would have actually helped Boruto, I'm not so sure Boruto listens to Kashin Koji there and evacuates. But there's a good chance that even Boruto doesn't have a solid sense of Jura's power level. This is a guy with literally 0 feats so far, so let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, but let's just list out the possibilities of his range for power. Jura is most likely a creation from the chakra of either Isshiki, Jigen, or Kawaki, and by the way, I'm going to make a separate video breaking down exactly who Jura's counterpart is in a later video. But back to the topic at hand. Based on the way Chapter 7 ended and the other images we've already seen, Jura is almost guaranteed to have some or all of Isshiki's powers, including access to the Daikokuten, shrinking, and chakra rods. Moreover, if he somehow doesn't have access to shrinking, then that's just all the more evidence that he's got insane strength to be able to lift the black boxes with ease. That's something that the Six Paths Naruto and full power Momoshiki couldn't do. He's got dual Rinnegan, which implies that every Rinnegan ability that we saw out of Pain and Sasuke is on the table for Jura. To make matters extremely worse, Jura can fly and can also teleport using the claw marks in the same way that the other Shinju and Claw Grimes are able to do. He also has the Otsutsuki markings, which imply that he's probably got superior chakra absorption abilities than even the other Shinju. Jura might be the worst possible matchup in this story for Boruto, and 1v1, I'm not so sure that Boruto could take him outright. Look, on the low end of Jura's power, he's still above Kawaki, that's a fact, because Kawaki doesn't have a Rinnegan or the ability to teleport. When you add the fact that it appears that Jura's end goal is to devour Boruto or Kawaki, it's starting to look like he's the predator and they are the prey. So yeah, the pack of big bad wolves might stop over to kill a fox on the way to hunt the bison. Get it? Because they have horns and Naruto hosted the nine-tailed fox spirit and the Shinju are a pack. Screw it. What do you guys think? Where do the Shinju rank in terms of ability? Where does Boruto rank? Did I misplace anyone? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks. Toodles.